Test.
All right, sorry about that, folks. I am back. So my name is Udaimonistic. I'm commentating this race. We have for you another exciting race here on Speed Gaming between Chaucer on the left and DBZ fan KidBoo on the right. I'm actually a part of this group. We're part of the Ball and Chain group. We have a race between runners who have very similar PBs. They're only within about 6 minutes of each other. Chaucer on the left has a 1:33.49. He runs a couple of other games, including Castlevania, Streets of Rage. He has a world record in that. DBZ fan KidBoo has been in the community for a very long time. He is well known for his very highly ranked runs in this category, where he's tied for 31st place, including other categories like Mirror Shield, Master Sword, True Any Percent, RBO, No EG. He's pretty well known for this game. Our runners here going through the escape, they're going to be looking for a time that beats at least 6 minutes. If they're going any longer than that, they're a little behind for this split. In order to minimize some of the time loss that they have here in escape, there's a few tricks that they're going to emphasize here. For example, the stair lag. They're going to turn right or left as they leave these stairs to eliminate the stutter step that Link takes. Here we have the namesake of our group, the Ball and Chain guard. Our runners both are opting to use 8 slashes to kill the guard as close to the key door as possible, taking minimal damage, Chaucer only taking a hard in half all the way up to this point in the dungeon. On our way back up through the escape sequence to the shelf that we need to have lamp for in order to get to the sewers, our runners have the same RNG as they had before. I was a little late to get onto the comms, but a couple of things our runners are going to have to watch out for are the green guards that they're going to have in the hallway on the way back to the first floor, as well as the blue guard that they had on their way down. This guard before, their best strategy was to kill it as close to the door. Now they just want to avoid it entirely. One thing you're going to see from both of these runners is when they walk up to these ledges, they're going to hit the A button as soon as they start pressing against it. This allows them to do something called a quick hop. We're not going to see this be utilized until they have the Pegasus boots, but once they do have them, it's going to be a great way to cut down about 10 to 15, maybe even 20 frames, depending on how fast they hit it, when they do approach ledges. You can't do it facing north, though. You do get to see Chaucer on the left using the boomerang to stun the guard. In general, in this run, it is much better to stun enemies as opposed to killing them, as a sword slash is going to slow you down significantly more. Also, shout out to Greenham. Thanks for the acknowledgement in chat. You guys should be able to hear me clearly now. Our runners are entering the back half of the escape sequence at about 4:35 and 4:40 respectively. This is not too bad overall. They have avoided most of the possible time losses. We're going to see our runners, before they have the boots, take advantage of a great movement tech called pumping. Before we explain that, though, it looks like KidBoo had some pretty rough snake RNG. Chaucer squeezing right past his. That's going to be a difference in time that's going to help Chaucer catch up a little bit here. When it comes to the pumping technique, though, Link's movement animation, because this is an old game, we have an isometric view, we're looking top-down. Link actually walks faster to the left and to the north as an artifact of his walking animation. He starts, well, it's the same speed regardless of which direction you walk, but the first frame of his animation starts at 2 pixels per frame as opposed to 1 when you're walking right or south. Taking advantage of this, we can mash certain D-pad directions to reset this animation and get through various sections a lot faster. They can also do this against walls. They can do this in midair. This is a really useful technique pretty much everywhere in the run, but you're going to see the best use of it through water and while they're on manual staircases. Going into the last rooms of escape, you see our runners hold right as they exit this doorway. This prevents a text box that Zelda will actually use to tell you to go pull one of the switches. In true Zelda fashion, one of those switches is a trap. Our runners have a approximately 6-minute escape, doing pretty well there. These are both very good runners. I'm wondering if any of them are going to skip the Sanctuary Heart. I spoke with Chaucer earlier. He said he's going for a deathless run, and I'm hoping for him. Looks like both of our runners do pick up Sanctuary Heart. I agree with that decision. In a race, you don't want to lose minutes to that for the 3 seconds that you would save. You'll notice as our runners cross this bridge, they're going to hold diagonal all the way across it. This is an example of how the opposite of pumping works, anti-pumping. If they were to change direction multiple times, they would be resetting to a slower walk animation each time. So holding that diagonal is the fastest way to traverse that screen. Coming up to Eastern Palace here, we have our best example of pumping in the entire game. These staircases allow you to mash both left and right as you're going upwards, and you can pump basically in both directions. They get twice as much effectiveness out of it. Neither of our runners opted to boomerang the Armos Knight there. It actually does reduce lag frames because there's less moving sprites on the screen. It looks like both of them managed to use pumping to get past the blue guard there. I've got Admiral Reggie in the chat asking about the difference in color tone. That's a really good thing to ask about. I've had some of the same issues myself. From what I understand, based on talking to Chaucer, he actually has a really nice setup that, I want to say it's S-Video. There are a lot of ways that you can clean up the visuals of Super Nintendo games, depending on the video formats that you're using. Some people will get certain results out of an emulator, for example. I know that Chaucer's definitely running on hardware. I think KidBoo being top 32 runner, I guess we'll call it that, he's in 31st place. I'm pretty sure he's running on hardware as well. So it really comes down to how you set up your total capture. That's a very interesting subject, though, and I don't want to spend forever talking about that. So we'll get back to the race, because otherwise we'll never end up talking about these runners. Both of them managed to get through the Stalfos room without any errors. By manipulating the spawns of those Stalfoses, you get one to spawn outside of the room and one under the pot, so it doesn't spawn at all. By throwing 2 pots in the right places, you can kill predictively the remaining 2. Both of our racers did it well. It looks like KidBoo did not pick up the safety arrows, so he's going to have to be very conservative with his ammunition throughout the rest of this dungeon. But speaking of that, Admiral, there is a Link to the Past Discord that has a lot of discussion regarding the visuals that you can get out of your hardware. I will try to send you a link to that in a little bit. Moving on, we have our damage boost here in the big key room. What our runners did just there is they bumped into the Popo to get invincibility frames. While those invincibility frames are active, they can pick up the pot underneath the anti-fairies, and in the process they can, step on the switch and activate the big key. Also, I just realized I'm watching the regular feed, not the commentary stream. 1 second. I'm a little behind here. Our runners are progressing to the back half of Eastern Palace, having made it through the dark room without too many mishaps. They're both down to 2.5 hearts, which should be more than enough. With the Armos fight, as long as they have a pretty favorable Zelda gamer room here. Chaucer's the first one through it. His cannonball RNG is definitely dealable. That one going vertical was an issue. Asking when Link gets to bounce the graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish. I don't know if this is a Star Wars reference or a different one. I'm feeling a little uncultured, but that's probably later, about another 20 minutes or so. Chaucer, the first one into the Armos Knight fight. Both of our runners went for the top right strap, but KidBoo unfortunately was a little late with the arrow. He got bumped into by the Armos. Chaucer finishing up the fight cleanly. KidBoo has to react to the pattern now, which we don't usually see too often. The key here is that he needs to put 3 arrows in each Armos Knight. In the process, he didn't get a chance to prevent the last one from going in rage, so he's actually out of arrows. He has to rely on sword strats. This is a relatively slow thing because the enraged Armos Knight re-heals. Next up, we get to see Chaucer here picking up his speed boots. Now the run really begins. Kappa. With this, we also get to see if these runners are going to take different routes. I know Chaucer in the last race that I saw went for tree rupees. KidBoo is a highly ranked runner, so I'm suspecting that he's probably going to do the same thing. We'll get to see shortly, though. Otherwise, in order to get the rupees that you would need for Palace of Darkness to enter, you would go to the back of Sahasrah's hut, where there's 100 and some bombs. Both of our runners appear to be going for tree rupees as best as I can tell. Chaucer did just show us the first instance of spin speed now that we have our fast shoes. If you were to release a sword spin and then hit the dash button, or A, on the next frame, you cancel both the dash and the spin with each other, and that confuses the game, puts you in a state where even in your walking animation, you're moving at dash speed. This is also called super speed, which can be activated by other items. You can use item dashes, for example, to do so. We get to see another example of it here in Chaucer's screen. All you have to do to prime it once you've activated it is to just simply touch manual staircases, which change the movement speed, and then that's when you activate the glitch. You can also get it on the way back, and Chaucer pulls it off. That's a really tight window to get that return one. Now that we have our literacy, we can now go check out the Desert Palace. Conveniently has a lot of places to dash. Unfortunately, I don't know that reference. I'm sorry, the Badass Bo Bros. Sorry for butchering your name. You'll notice our runners are taking advantage of the angled walls throughout this run. Link's dash animation gets cancelled if he bonks into something. You can also continue the dash animation if you position Link towards a 45-degree wall like you just saw with KidBoo's screen. He also just did the water dash. If you line up on that bush, you will walk right alongside the water without having the reduced movement speed for your dash from walking through water. That's the fastest way to get through that screen. It's a little tight to get the window of it, though. That's literally Bob Ross. See... Not the best with names, my apologies. Here in Desert Palace, though, like we mentioned before, there's a lot of instances using these boots. First one is we have a bonkable key on the torch. The key can actually be triggered to bonk off of the torch as long as you collide in some way, or if you make some kind of connection with the torch. You can even hit the wall behind it. Doing so puts you in a better position to pick up that key immediately. Here on Chaucer's screen, we're going to go through our first kill screen, and then the Cannonball RNG, the second instance in the run. He has some unfortunate luck, has to stagger his dash, but if he walks back to the... Yep, he walked back to the sand and then did his dash. That's a little bit of an optimization when you get the bad RNG. We'll see in a moment how KidBoo does through it. There is an audio cue that you can use. If you can hear the cannonballs moving in a certain way before you walk into the room, you can predict the RNG, if that makes any sense. Though you can use that to dash intelligently through that room. It's just a pretty small window to figure that out. Now that we've picked up our rock-carrying gloves, we are going to move to the back half of Desert Palace. So far, we've had pretty much easy control over just about everything in the run. There's only a couple of instances of enemy RNG so far that are really impacting us. Here in Desert Palace, that all changes for the worse. All for the worse. Lamolus is a very frustrating boss. We're going to see Chaucer here taking his way through some of the kind of finer movements. He has a second kill screen here. If you do the dash and then come across without hitting the BMOS, you can get through this room real quick. KidBoo attempted to do a spin speed, the most dangerous one, in the entire run. Falling there is very dangerous, and when you're in spin speed, pressing the direction of a ledge will automatically make you hop. We're also going to get a couple of instances of key dashes here in this run. Key dash is basically lining up Link's dash animation in a way that allows for the collision detection to open the door but not bonk on the door on the same frame. So how that works is the game detects Link's collision every 4 frames, I believe, and it just so happens that pretty much everything is on a coordinate grid, where if you line up with, say, a torch, you'll walk into the door just like that. Chaucer here with the first cycle of Lamolus 2. The idea is you want to pump a bunch of arrows in there. That's the only placement of Lamolus that's going to be set. It's going to take 4 arrows for each of these worms. So he's hoping to get as few cycles as possible, squeezing in a few extra sword slashes to try and whittle this down. He's reacting pretty well, but he's getting some very difficult patterns. KidBoo manages to get about 2 arrows into each one. He had a short hop, unfortunately. The best thing you can have happen for these Lamolus enemies is they stay in the air for a long time. You see Chaucer finished off that worm simply because it was in that long of a flight path. And with that, KidBoo is actually tied up with Chaucer. Wow, that was a fast Lamolus from him compared. This is actually within like 2 seconds. Bob Ross in the chat asking about what is absolutely not required. Well, you do have to get all the crystals in order to get into Ganon's tower, so you're going to have to do every dungeon. We're not allowed to use exploration glitch to get to places where we're not supposed to be able to get to, in that regard. So you're pretty much playing the entire game. You just don't necessarily have to pick up all the items. As far as things that are not required, like we don't have to get all the upgrades. For example, most of our runners in this tournament are going to go all the way to the end of the game with green mail, and they're only going to get tempered sword. They won't get silver arrows. Pretty much everything you need to kill Ganon without breaking the progression of the game is how it works. Our runners here are going to do fake flippers, though. Fake flippers, how it works is we don't have the flippers to swim with. The game wants to place you after you've jumped into the water, but you have a short window, pretty much enough time for one input, to move over to the right. If you're close enough to the screen transition, you'll transition while in the water, and the game will think, well, I guess you're swimming right now, so you must have flippers, and it just lets you swim. The danger of that, though, is that if they take any damage, the game gets very confused and starts like doing some really glitchy things where it scrolls the screen. It's a soft lock. So our runners want to avoid that very much. All in all, though, that trick only saves about 6 to 8 seconds compared to an optimal West Side Breeze strat instead. And yes, I agree, Lucky. We're probably going to see silverless strats out of both of these runners. They're both high caliber runners in the low 130s and high 120s. So, well, I say high 120s. 127 is pretty good. So our runners are going to be mostly doing very few safeties, I think, in this run. I just posted a link to the chat to the speedrun community for the leaderboard. There are a lot of categories there that you can look through if you want to see like the different ways people play this game. Because, if you have an interest in various categories, I mean, this isn't the only one that people run. This is just the one that's most popular. Yeah, 100% turning would suck, though, because you would have all of the shovel RNG and all of the chess game RNG, and trust me, like, people who run this game 100% do not run it for long for that exact reason. Our runners here are about to enter Hera. We got to see them take advantage of a quick warp, actually. The various warp tiles in the game, or even where you warp with the mirror in the game, can be influenced to warp faster, basically, with less lag, if you position the camera correctly so that the game has less things on screen, basically, to process. So, if they enter the Death Mountain portal at the top from the right side, that actually aligns the camera correctly. But as it turns out, if you come here later for Ether, you have to do it from the center of the portal because the camera is different when you flute to Death Mountain compared to having the old man from the cave. You could actually circumvent that if you wanted to. It's a waste of time, but you could go into the cave and then come back up. Looks like we got a really nice boom dash out of Chaucer. just to briefly explain what's going on here, the tile room, our runners are forced to wait for all these tiles to come out of the floor. They can kill the last one ahead of time by hitting it in the first frame that it starts moving. That can open the door a little faster. But for the most part, they're pretty much waiting. Chaucer electing to do a really nice boom dash, an item dash where you throw the boomerang and dash in a different direction, to have the pegs pop up underneath him, and he has invincibility frames while standing on them. And hey, Lucky, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So we have in chat, Bob Ross mentioning that we have the trolliest boss of them all. You'll have a lot of disagreement in the community about that. Many would say Lamolus is, but then again, Moldworm does kill a lot of runs. Moldworm, the boss that we're heading towards right now, has a tendency to knock people off the ledge, and there's a center hole in that fight that if you fall off of, you fall 2 floors down to where Chaucer just was. Chaucer's approaching the petting zoo, as we like to call it. I'm sure you can imagine why. These mini Moldworms, they look friendly, but they're not. He's going to do a bomb jump to get to the Moon Pearl early instead of having to use the drop-down hole in the next floor. To do that jump, he had to place himself within 2 pixels of the edge of the gap in order to have the bomb placement correctly, in order to bomb him over. There's another alternate strat that we might see. Yep. No, we're not going to. Yep, we're going to see it out of KidBoo. If you place the bomb and then dash and bonk, you're going to actually have a much wider lenient window. Unfortunately, Chaucer does take a fall trying to do the bumper skip, and KidBoo dies at the end of Petting Zoo. Now, this isn't the most costly death. He did pick up the Moon Pearl, but that's a fairly long climb back up. It's worse than a Moldworm fall. With that, Chaucer pulls ahead quite a bit. He's going to have to do 6 strikes against Moldworm here and hope that he doesn't have really bad luck getting bounced off the edge. One thing our runners can do is they can hold the sword out against the edge, and as long as they have that sword outstretched, they're not going to fall down like Chaucer just did. Unfortunately, he had to let go of the sword trying to basically reset up his swipe, and he took the fall. So this gives KidBoo a little bit of time to catch back up. There's a lot of different ways that you can deal with Moldworm. Hanging out against the wall, he's always going to be walking towards you for the most part. Well, for the most part. That's one way to handle him. It's a little slower. A lot of our runners are going to dash like you see Chaucer doing here. Dashing through gives you a little bit of invincibility while you're going through him as long as you started the dash. And you can also do sword spins as the tail hitbox is very forgiving. With that, Chaucer does finish his Moldworm fight with only 1 fall. And KidBoo appears... Well, I'm just going to call him DBZ. DBZ is not too far behind him. Well, it's set up as KidBoo. I'll call him KidBoo. With that now, Chaucer has to go pick up his Pew Pew laser sword. Wouldn't be misplaced in Megazord. Sword beams are going to do a lot for us to speed up this run. There are a lot of instances where we can skip menus by having some ranged combat. We can also hit certain switches from a distance. This would be very useful here in Hera. Unfortunately, we can't have it before then. It turns out to be a theme here in A Link to the Past, is a lot of these dungeons have ways you could use other items that would be so much nicer, but we just don't have them yet. On Chaucer's screen, you get to see the first tree pull. On your first pull of that tree, you're going to get blue rupees. All our runners have to do is kill 4 enemies without taking any damage, and if they do so, the next tree that they pull will have 4 red rupees. This is going to get us to the required 110 in order to pay 10 to Kiki to follow us, and 100 to get him to open the door. I don't know about you guys, but if you thought Link was cool, he has to pay Kiki $10 to follow him on Instagram. Like, are you serious? Moving on, I don't believe I saw either of them pick up the mushroom on the way in. Typically, you would take it on the way out. There's a pretty decent chance that our runners will pick it up anyway, though. Even if they don't intend to have the powder, they may still elect to try to do fake powder in any situations where, you know, they're just in a bind and there's a bunny beam or an anti-fairy available. You got that right, Lucky. This is a very tight race. They're within a few seconds of each... Well, probably about 10 seconds or 15 seconds of each other. There we have Chaucer picking up the mushroom. Still remains to be seen if he's going to actually get powder. That being said, I've seen him do fake powder before, so that's still on the table. I would think that this is the kind of scenario where it really does make sense to pick it up. KidBoo opting not to. Just because of how competitive this race is, both of these runners are very fast at this game. KidBoo not even taking the 4th red rupee because he already hit his 110. You do have some opportunities with RNG with prize pack drops throughout the run before now to make it to that point, so you get to save a little bit of time there over Chaucer. Bob Ross, unfortunately, Bombos is in desert. That would be Ether you're thinking of. But no, I can't do that. You could do a Death Mountain Ascent if you had a pretty handy spin speed and you click through a wall, but we don't allow for that in this tournament. Though it is pretty cool to watch. Going into Aghanim's Tower, we have Chaucer going for the fast strat on the gold guards. He's going to do a sword spin and 2 bow and arrow. He's going to use a sword beam and a couple of sword spins to finish those off. You'll also notice that he's dashing through these blue guards here. There's a very important reason to do that. Our runners not only are trying to manipulate that tree pull, but they're also looking to manipulate enemy prize packs. The number of enemies you kill within a certain group has an impact on what prize pack drops they can sometimes give you. Later on in the run, maybe a good 40 or 50 minutes from now, our runners are banking on this to hopefully give them a free fairy when they kill a Pokey right before the Chomp Room and Turtle Rock. Goes to show you how optimized this run is. They have to make these decisions long in advance. You'll also notice that KidBoo unfortunately alerted the guards in the dark room. That's the one thing in that room that you want to avoid, because once they're alert, they're all chasing after you. They have patrol paths that you can actually avoid for the most part. I'm not being critical, though. I mess that up every time. And it looks like KidBoo had one of his blue guards just fall on his own. I love when that happens. Chaucer using a sword spin to help eliminate these red guards. He had a little bit of a party in there. He's taking a little more damage than he might like. He may actually pick up a heart in this Circle of Pots room, although the fast strat is to just simply boomerang this key. He's going to pick up some extra arrows, though. I think that's wise. KidBoo having the exact same party in the red room. Shoutouts to Hiei in the chat. I too also enjoy seeing the other Hiei in chat. For all you know, though, he's probably here. Our runners are walking into the Aghanim 1 fight. We call it Aghanim 1, of course, because we will have a rematch with him right before the end of the game. This is Ganon's alter ego. He unfortunately is a lot less diverse in his attack patterns compared to Ganon, and a lot more intense in his RNG implications. Here in the fight with Aghanim, we're going to play some timeless classic Zelda volleyball. The goal is to reflect these yellow or white attacks that these energy balls that he's sending at us. The first round is always going to be a reflectable attack, and then attacks 2, 3, and 4 in his cycle have a 50-50 coin flip chance of being a blue ball attack, which wastes time, and you can't send back at him. Chaucer here already has 2 of them in his first cycle, and KidBoo has 1. The 5th attack in the cycle is going to be a lightning attack, which you cannot reflect at all. So Chaucer here with 2, Kid with 1. KidBoo has 2 in his first cycle as well, so these runners are currently on the same pace here with RNG. Looks like Chaucer had a 3rd. And a 4th. That's unfortunate. One thing you're going to notice our runners doing here is they're going to try to knock Aghanim towards the center of the arena. If he's going to warp all the way across the arena, you want him to start from as close to the center as possible for the sake of speed. Both of our runners have 4 blue balls so far. They're getting very similar luck here. Chaucer with the 5th. 3 is considered pretty average, so this is pretty rough for him. Oh, man. 6, 7. The worst circumstance that can happen here is 15 if they hit every attack that they can reflect. And this is terrible luck for both of them. I'm kind of floored by that. Not only are the blue balls wasteful of time, but if you get another cycle where he does a lightning attack, that's a whole extra attack that takes extra time and lag frames, so both of our runners have to be feeling frustrated with that. They were both on sub 30-minute time for, for the light world going into this, or at least close to it. With that, though, I think they had 7 or 8 each. That was brutal. Some good old button mashing for text. Here we have a slight difference in the scenery. You can see the color scheme is a little different. There's not much to talk about while we're button mashing here. We will get another opportunity to see a really nice sword spin here from Chaucer to get spin speed leaving this screen. As you're walking through that grass, it is a significant impediment to your movement speed. So getting it there is pretty important. And now it's time for everybody's favorite racketeering contest of Hyrule, or the Dark World. We have Kiki the Monkey here on the left, and Kiki the Monkey here on the right, getting ready to con our runners out of 10 rupees, just to get them to follow him. But if you think that 10 rupees would buy this man's loyalty, absolutely not. If you bump into anything, he is going to run away at the drop of a hat. Thankfully, our runners have plenty of extra rupees. They're going to be fine if they had to do that. Looks like KidBoo would only need to farm 4 if that were the case. With the remaining 100, his racketeering is complete. He manages to open the Palace of Darkness for us, or the Palace of Mirrors, as I might say, and our runners can continue on their journey to rescue Zelda. Here in Palace of Darkness, we have a pretty straightforward collectathon. Just like most of the rest of the dungeons in this game, but this time we have the benefit of the mirror, and thank goodness. This is a place that really demands it. Our runner's going to go to the basement to the left first for the key. They're going to mirror out. They're going to come back through the main hallway, drop down this hole that Chaucer just went to, hit the switch. They're going to come back around for the big key after they bomb the gap on the left bridge, and then we're going to see everyone's favorite trick of A Link to the Past, no major glitches. No saving quit any %. That's a mouthful. The hammer jump. Hammer jumps are fun. So I'd like to just briefly explain this before we see it. There is a big key chest in this dungeon. It has the hammer, very fun item. Oh, Bob Ross, I don't actually know the Hyrule National Anthem, unfortunately. I'll have to read up on my random memes. But so, as they approach the big key chest for the hammer, they can either go through a dark maze and bomb a wall and then come back out and pick up the hammer, or instead they can take advantage of some kind of wonky collision detection for railing. The game does not expect Link to fly through a railing horizontally. It doesn't account for that. So what Chaucer's going to do on the left here is he's going to place a bomb on the bridge in a pixel-perfect location on a y-axis pixel, and he's going to place Link on a y-axis pixel as well. And because he's really fast in this game, I think he's also going to throw a bomb over at the same time. Oh, with an unfortunate map screen. Nobody likes that. And so Chaucer's going to make good use of pause buffering to put himself in position. He gets the bomb in the first try. That was a very nice bomb jump. Here on KidBoo's screen, we're going to see the same bomb trick. He's going to throw the bomb over to open up that gap, using pause buffering and some effective movement tech to position himself. For those of you out there who are considering picking up this run, one way that you can actually make that trick easier is, like we saw before, pause buffering. The way you want to use your movement is, if you want to keep in mind those animation cycles we talked about before. If you move left or up, Link is going to start moving 2 pixels at a time. If you move down or right, he's going to move 1 pixel at a time. If you use your pauses correctly, you can get exactly on the right pixel every time within 4 or 5 buffers, even if you're not even approximating it closely. Chaucer nearly getting the sexy statue. If you can get that turn without having Link disengage from the push, we call that sexy statue. both of our runners went for it. It's a little faster, but, you know, it's mostly for swag. This mimic room can be kind of challenging because these mimics are going to take whatever movements you do and pretty much reverse them. I mean, you have to manipulate them, but if you make even the smallest mistake, they're going to go off the rails, and it's kind of hard to do that room if you don't get it correctly the first try. With that, though, KidBoo does take a slight lead. Moving forward, KidBoo has one extra advantage over Chaucer walking into the basement. He has full health, so he gets to use a sword beam to destroy this, or to hit the switch. Chaucer instead has to menu twice. Going into the turtle room, KidBoo does a really good sword outstretch technique to keep the turtles in front of him, and then does a sword spin to finish them off. You can also finish them off with hammers, but sometimes you flip them upside down. Both of our runners get through that room with no hearts of damage from the turtles. That's a successful turtle room any day. These runners are moving quick. We're already on the Helmosaur King fight. This fight requires our runners to hit the mask of Helmosaur King here 17 times. You don't have to have your sword outstretched to do this. It's just a great way to strafe. Our Helmosaur King can hit you with a fireball attack that goes in 3 directions, or his tail, and in the enraged phase that KidBoo is in, he can do all of those attacks at once, including moving around. He's very close, but thankfully avoids the last hug. Chaucer down to 1 heart. Oh my goodness. Hugging the wall for safety and finally pulls it out. Oh, I was nervous about that. Well, this is one of the tensest moments of the run. Like, Chaucer, for example, picked up the mushroom, but there's no reason he would ever go to cash that in before, you know, he gets the flute, which is what we're going to see next. I'm very happy to see they made it through that. That was tense. Hey, shoutouts to Parisian Player in chat. Definitely a runner you guys should keep an eye out for in this tournament. Also, sorry I couldn't do the commentary with you on Monday. Other things kind of came up. I'm sure you saw in the Discord. With that, we have some cutscene mashing. One thing that our runners do take advantage of, and I'm not exactly sure about how it works with cutscene text. I think it's the same, but the last text box of any sequence of text boxes in this game, you can mash any face button to clear out the last one. Oftentimes, the runners will use L and R, as those are not scripted or bound to any other kind of, or they don't have any other kind of binding to any other task in the game. So it's a good free button that you can just press. This helps our runners prevent accidentally doing the wrong inputs after a text box. Best example would be the A button causing a stutter step dash that we don't want to have. It wastes frames. Oh boy, there's a chance I might get Parisian Player in here. I'm pretty excited about that. Next up in our run, our runners need to not only run fast, they need to travel fast. In order to do so, we're going to pick up a flute. What we do is we just talk to this little tree boy here who used to be a real boy in the light world. We're going to take his shovel and dig up his flute. And with that, we get to say hi to our favorite duck in the world, who has been sitting in a statue for who knows how long. I gotta wonder, how does that bird breathe? Is this like a gargoyle bird? Nonetheless, our runners both find the flute in the first dig, not wasting any time to progress. We're also going to see them pass by our very favorite guard in Hyrule, Usain Bolt. He is the fastest guard in Hyrule. He has an Olympic speed running time of very fast, but he's just not as fast as our super speed. KidBoo manages to get past him with no issues at all. Chaucer looking to do the same. One thing about spin speed that you may want to know as a newer runner, if you want to test to make sure that you have it active before you touch the ladder, you should just simply try to flash your sword. When you're in spin speed or super speed, you can't swipe your sword at all. We salute you, little duck friend. Go, be free. KidBoo on the right here is on his way to Thieves Town. He could have bonked into the tree that he was just passing to get some apples, but he had nearly full health. Chaucer here is going to pick up his powder. This is a wise choice. Thieves Town is pretty much our first big difficulty spike after Palace of Darkness, which simply throws some more tough enemies at you. We're going to have a lot more busy screens here in this dungeon, so it's definitely a good way to make sure that you don't have a really punishing death here in Thieves Town. All in all, as you can tell, there's not a gigantic difference in time for that. I mean, it was pretty much the time it took for KidBoo to make it to Thieves Town from Kakariko. And in contrast, if Chaucer has at any point a moment where he would have died without this powder, he has basically saved all that time and then some. Moving through Thieves Town, KidBoo is going to make a straight path. Well, I guess you can call it a straight path. You make you make 3 rights, and that actually kind of makes a left to get to the big key. We're going to use that to get to the back half of the dungeon, pick up some very nice gauntlets way earlier than we're supposed to in a casual run. There's a reason that we do this dungeon out of order, actually. Conventional logic of this game, playing casually, you would want to go to Swamp Palace next, being as that's number 2 in the crystal order. There's nothing stopping you from coming here first, and by getting these Titan's Mitts, we're going to have access to the Tempered Sword early. There's another reason that we do this now. Oh, KidBoo almost got the God Pixel in the Hellway. And he even got it set up right the second time. He just had some unfortunate RNG, had to stutter step, and opted to go around to the side anyway. But the other reason that we come here to Thieves Town early is, you know, we won't have any real benefit from having Tempered Sword or any kind of upgrades in this dungeon. I mean, you might have survivability with a little bit more health. But Blind himself doesn't take extra damage from different weapons or different, sources of damage. Mothula, however, does. So this is going to be useful for us when we go to Skull Woods next. We'll come back to Swamp Palace, but it'll be a while. Moving on, it looks like KidBoo has unlocked the light portal, or whatever the heck you want to call it. So that Blind here is going to be blinded by it. No irony lost on me here. With that done, though, he's going to make his way to the basement to free the maiden, as we like to say. Jury's still out on whether we're actually looking at a maiden or just a really great skin suit. My favorite fun fact about the maiden that we find in the jail cell here is that she can actually dash as fast as you do. So apparently there are exactly 2 sets of Pegasus boots in the entire... Well, no, actually all your followers can do that besides the big bomb without a hook shot. So it seems like Pegasus boots are a little more common than you might think in this game. Vooligan in chat asking about the difference in PBs. Give me just one moment, I have them written down. DBZ fan KidBoo on the right has a 127.26, and Chaucer on the left has a 133.49. So despite the fact that there's about a 6.5 or so minute difference in their PBs, this is just as you're saying, a very tight race. And anything could change. I mean, if one of these runners, has a unfortunate accident with Blind or Mothula, the lead will change. Alright, looks like KidBoo is about to walk into the blind fight. This is a scripted fight, so all we have to do is make sure we follow the same pattern every time and dodge these fireballs. As long as we don't miss an opportunity to hit the head, we'll have a perfect fight, and it looks like KidBoo is about as close to perfect as it gets. He could have maybe got like a swipe in a little quicker, but that's a fantastic fight from KidBoo. Looks like we'll be joined in a moment by a Parisian player. I just gotta send him a link. Alrighty, and we have Chaucer walking into his blind fight as well. As mentioned before, this is scripted, and I've seen him do a pretty good job of this fight. He has the extra advantage of sword beams because those do the same damage regardless, so it actually is a little quicker to use those sword beams if he's on this third phase. He did get hit, so with the reversal of his pattern, he pulls it off. Very nice. That was a great adjustment in this fight. And we are joined by Parisian Player. Welcome to the commentary.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to join you for that commentary.
Thank you.
So yeah, despite the PB difference, still kind of close. Like can go either side.
I'm excited to see if Mothula is going to be the difference here. Chaucer does have the opportunity to heal with his powder, whereas KidBoo does not.
Well, it's about a minute difference now between the players.
Yeah, it was pretty much exactly the difference to get in powder.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, how often do you see that in a run? Or in a race, I mean.
Yeah, especially in the group phase where the PBs are kind of different. We didn't see yet a lot of very, very close race. But like I follow Chaucer a lot when he streams, and like he's really good. So he can definitely get a much better time than his 133. I was surprised every time by his consistency and the strats he goes for.
Yo, but I mean, the visual quality on his stream, though. I mean, let's just be upfront about how good that looks. Well, I don't know. I mean, bitrate-wise, do you see a pretty large difference in the visual fidelity here?
Well, I said, like I saw Chaucer recently. KidBoo didn't stream much recently. He barely played. But KidBoo is also very known for playing glitch categories. So
yeah, I took a quick look at his speedrun.com profile, and he has very high rankings in pretty much every major category. I was impressed to see what the resume was for this guy.
All right, so KidBoo going for the big key in Skullwoods, while Chaucer is taking his Tempered Sword. All right, so the idea of that room is to try to put the statue as low as possible, so that even if the mummies go up, you can still push backwards, and they won't hit you. They have a very weird hitbox. They cannot go through the statue if it's too much up, but you can go. You have a smaller hitbox than the mummies.
Thankfully, he got through the room without any damage, and we did see a missed fence dash out of Chaucer.
Yeah, bongs. The bushes are very strong that game.
Hey, so I gotta ask, Parisian, since you are a very good runner of this game, how exactly is fence dash supposed to be done? Because I am a newer runner.
So I'm not an expert in that because it's frame perfect. If I recall well, it's pressing A and left at the same frame because you want to dash and move one frame left, and as you're dashing, you want to move up. Another possibility, I believe, is to sword buffer it, but I would not be that much guaranteed. But I'd like to sword buffer once and then dash up. And it saves about, I'd say, a bit more than a half a second, between half a second and a second.
And it looks sweet.
Yeah, but if you bong, then
yeah, you lost it all.
Bad energy for KidBoo. That first snake is half.
Yeah, he would have had a key dash opportunity there if not. He is moving pretty quickly through the Gibdo room, though. This looks pretty clean.
Yeah, that strat is the safest, quick strat you can get. Considering that he has only 5 hearts, it makes a lot of sense.
Agreed on that. He did get a really nice item dash out of the room, too. That looked nice.
Yeah, so also he didn't go for optimal. He went for killing the mummy with the fire rod to get the extra heart. And that's okay. He didn't get a double hit at the beginning of the fight, only a single hit, but then pretty good RNG. You don't want the Mothula to be close to the spikes because then it won't damage him when you slash, because the spikes the damage of the spikes overcome the damages of your sword, and the spikes do 0 damage to Masala. So you rely absolutely on RNG on that fight.
It's always a good sign if you see all the spikes are still in their remaining original places. Things go south real fast with that.
You see here, Choser got one of the good RNG. Let's see how he handles the Mummy Hellway. Exactly the same strat. With a bit more security, he takes all the pots to get more magic for the fight. Alright, so mirroring here gives KidBoo a quick warp. There are some places where you can get a free quick warp by just mirroring. The exit of Skullwoods is one of them. The exit of Swamp Palace, for example, also is one of them. And we're still with that about 1 minute difference between the runners. Interesting buffer from KidBoo. I never saw that here.
Didn't seem like he wanted to play the lottery.
No, he went for a lottery. The lottery is... If you don't want to play for the lottery, you dash above the bushes. It's just that usually the buffer is done a bit later here. He wanted to see what was the RNG from the Moblin.
One thing we're going to get to see out of KidBoo's screen, he's dashing into the wall to the right here, the purpose of which is to set himself up for a quick warp. As we talked about before, that camera position is what matters, so all he has to do is move directly up into it, and just by mirroring on that spot, he's going to get a quick warp. Not too far behind him is Chaucer. He's going to make his way to pick up his Quake and Flippers following pretty much in his footsteps. This is still a really tight race. We're not going to see, from what I can tell, any extra safeties being taken by either of these runners, so it's pretty much execution and RNG from this way out.
Chaucer didn't go for the quick warp from the graveyard. It's a more complicated one, but like you can always try it. It's quite free to try it and hope to get it.
Do you use a particular setup for that?
You have to be 1 pixel left from the right wall. So basically, you want to dash and ledge on the right wall, and when you're ledging, you want to stop the dash and tap left, and hope that you tap for only 1 frame. So. Apart from that, you have not really any good setups.
Well, thankfully, it doesn't risk too much. Unfortunately, it looks like Chaucer did mess up the positioning for his quick warp on that one.
Yeah, he didn't get it. So KidBoo already used magic outside to avoid the Zora. He used one in the other room, so now he used already twice magic. He cannot use any more, otherwise he will have to grab some extra magic. He has 2 small pots just before the boss, but there are some places where you might think he could go for magic, but he will have to be a lot more careful now.
Yeah, for the most part, our runners are pretty beholden to drops at this point.
A lot of lag in KidBoo's room. That's because he missed his spin attack. You want to kill. 2 is okay, 4 is great to avoid as much lag as possible in that room.
We're going to get an even bigger example of it here in KidBoo's screen as he takes on the Stalfos Knights. He didn't drop the bomb, unfortunately. He may be able to still get the double kill.
Okay. I don't know why he went for that setup. It works. I don't know if that caused extra lag or anything. The jumps might, but alright. Oh, the hover.
Holy
the
smokes.
hover! Very smooth.
The madman. You saw it here first, folks. We have hover strats and Ice Pal's hover jump.
And that kind of hover definitely is faster than the bomb jump, but it's a lot harder than the bomb jump usually. It's hard to be fast on this one.
KidBoo over here is like, I don't need to take a single heart of damage. I don't know what you guys are messing around with.
I know he likes to hover. We talked a lot about different categories, and for example, in the relay race that was organized last October, he was thinking about trying maybe to hover the Moldorm section after killing Moldorm just for the swag. But after like the stress of the event, he didn't do that.
Understandable. It's a very precise trick. Here on the right side, we do have KidBoo taking on Cold Stare. You have to use all of your magic if you're going to use the normal Fire Rod strat. He's going to do a sword spin and hopefully get 6 slashes in the corner without any delays. Manages to wrap it up pretty cleanly.
Yeah, not exactly the fight he was expecting, but at least he survived.
Being that those hugs do 4 hearts of damage, definitely a good to emerge unscathed.
Oh, a full from Chaucer, 2 fulls, 3 fulls. All right, his position might be bad, so
he adjusted 1 pixel in that last moment.
Okay, so one thing that can happen in that situation when you fall, you don't position yourself the same place as if you were entering the room. So considering the strat he was doing, usually you're not supposed to be on the good pixel. So I have to admit, I'm surprised he didn't fall here after the bomb jump.
Gotta love those MLG reflexes. You'll see our runners taking advantage of the sword and sometimes the hammer to influence their ice physics and their ice mechanics. It's very hard to deal with the preserved momentum. Using a sword slash or a hammer attack, you can basically alter the trajectory that you're sliding.
And important, you keep your momentum. Same as if you were pressing A also to start a dash, you can change your trajectory but keep your speed. You can see that also in Gauntlet 5 in Ganon's Tower.
Here we go with Chaucer's attempt on Cold Stare.
Alright, a bit cleaner than KidBoo. Even if the beginning was a bit slower, he didn't go for 8 quick fire rod shots. He had to wait a little bit.
Certainly happy to see these runners get through some of the larger fights that are a big threat to the run. Some of the bigger time losses, like for example Palace of Darkness and Ice Palace, cause you to do a fair amount of backtracking. So to get through these without any deaths, we're looking at a really good pace for both these runners.
KidBoo is in Swamp. Swamp is a dungeon where basically you won't die unless you're Runner Watcher, hype to Runner Watcher who won a race last tournament versus Blown Bunny dying at Swamp. But normally you should not die in Swamp, but it's a dungeon where you can lose a lot of time because there's a lot of small RNG.
Some of you may have noticed that KidBoo did not do a hammer dash to destroy that skull pod. It's actually a little bit faster to walk up to it and then hammer and then dash back.
It's less swag, but it's faster. Sometimes swag is not worth it.
Right. It was actually really hard for me to stop doing the hammer dash. I found that out just recently and I was pretty upset.
I'm the opposite. Like the easiest the run becomes, the happier I am.
You'll also notice these fire snakes that our runners are going to be walking past. There are a couple of instances where you're going to want to pretty much walk right through them. As it turns out, the front end of that fire snake is the only part that has a hitbox, so our runners can safely walk through the back 2 or 3 fireballs without any issue. We'll see this more in Misery Mire. One of the great things about this dungeon is, as Parisian player mentioned just a moment ago, it's a bit of a breather for our runners. They're not going to have to worry too much about their deaths or any kind of damage they're taking. You can potentially die to Argus depending on how you approach him. But for the most part, we're pretty much just picking up a fast item. We get the hook shot. We have to wind through the dungeon a bit. We do get a good opportunity to use that hook shot shortly thereafter. There is a hook dash in the next room. Is that right, Parisian?
There's a hook dash just after the hook shot, indeed. We're going to explain why we hook dash there, because it's quite obscure if you don't know. Hook dash puts you in a pretty weird state, which we call also, well, it's like spin speed. You can activate spin speed with that.
Well, it's like super speed, right?
Yeah, super speed, but super speed not only puts you to go faster if you hit stairs, you can also clip if you have some kind of small walls with the corners. And also, weirdly, you can take some pots like first try. The pots he's going to get soon, so we'll see like right here. Alright, so he's gonna hook dash, which you get. And this pot, if you try to press only once A normally, you won't get it. You have to spam A for some reason. If you have hook dash, you can get that pot first try. No idea why the game works like this. Sometimes...
Yeah, that's an enigma.
Yeah, don't think too much about the game, just accept it.
The one way that you can tell if you got the hook dash is you can see that Link's walking animation as he pushes. He's gonna move his feet like the Roadrunner from the cartoons, just like really fast. You can kind of tell if he's in hook dash or spin speed based on that.
And we welcome all the people from Speed Gaming 1.
Welcome. Just to give you guys an update on this race, we have on the left Chaucer and on the right DBZ fan KidBoo. These are both in my group, the Ball and Chain group. Both of these runners are very close in total personal best. Chaucer, well, I say close, there's about a 6-minute difference between the two, but this race has been close. KidBoo on the right, trying to do the 0 cycle. Looks like he wasn't able to pull it off.
Alright, short 1 cycle, which is logical. Okay, he does that setup from the wall and gets it perfectly.
Yeah, that was a really nice looking fight.
Darkman Demon in chat is supporting his German friend. KidBoo is German, and so is Darkman, and so is Darkman Demon.
We have a few prominent German speedrunners. We also have Tara in the tournament. There may be more, I'm just not as familiar.
Salatman is in the tournament. He's German too, he has a 128.
That's one thing I really love about this game, is that no matter where you are in the world, there are fans of this game.
Some places are underrepresented. We had, for long, we never had an Italian runner until Louis, a runner from Super Mario World, came for the tournament and tried to get a good time and progressed very quickly. So, yeah.
That is something for our newer runners out there to keep in mind. This is a game that you can progress very quickly, and it looks like a lot of the things that we're doing seem, pretty complicated, pretty difficult, on the surface at least. For the most part, there's a lot of really great, easy setups to use. This game is very difficult, but it's also very rewarding, so I encourage all of you to pick up this game.
Chat is reminding me of all the other German runners. Yeah, Joel Magus Bamboo Shadow, Zatox. Timon is not doing it, unfortunately, but yeah.
Hey, well, we're happy to have everybody. Chaucer's walking into his Argus fight as well.
KidBoo going out of the ice cavern with the spin speed. Didn't get it optimally, but he really wants to show the swag here. I mean, if you go for the hover in Ice Palace, why not going for the spin speed outside of ice cavern?
Fair enough.
Chaucer missing the fire rod shot, so he will get a 3 cycle. Does not bother trying to get a 2 cycle, trying to do after his miss a fire rod plus spin attack.
Fricker, just in the chat asking about PBs, just going to mention it one more time. Chaucer here has a 133 and KidBoo has a 127. They are very close to each other, though. It looks like KidBoo's doing his shopping trip. He's getting the Ice Rod and the Ether medallions so that he doesn't have to worry about this later. Chaucer's finishing up Swamp. We'll see if he ends up picking these up now or after. Or I suppose I mean the Ice Rod, not the Ether.
KidBoo did the Ice Rod then Ether. That's a little surprise. People usually do the opposite because if you take a damage like he did, you can try. What the hell did he took that rock? If you do Ether first and take a damage, you can have a chance to get a hard back from one of the crabs just outside Ice Cavern. And entering Mire with full health is important for 2 things. First, Mire 2, if you have beams, it's easier. Second of all, it's the boss requires to take a lot of damage, so getting as much health as possible is a big help.
Keeping in mind, folks, that KidBoo does not have any way to replenish his health, no safeties at all whatsoever. He may have been picking up that rock by the warp to hopefully find a heart that he didn't expect to be there. I mean, that was pretty random.
What the hell did Chaucer do? He fell off to retry to get the circle? I don't understand.
He did get a pretty nice looking sword climb on his way up, though. Here's another example of somebody doing a different type of quick warp. I'm not sure if he managed to get that there, but he was going after the center quick warp on the portal there. When you flew up to Death Mountain this time around, it's actually a different position because of the camera.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. In Death Mountain, you don't want to be exactly in the center. You want to be slightly on the right. It's one of the hardest quick warp to get.
So pretty much like a pixel off. That makes sense. Moving through, KidBoo is now crossing over the Torch Room in Misery Mire. This is usually a pretty good benchmark for most runners of the higher caliber, I guess the faster times. It's usually about 20 minutes left in their run in most scenarios when they get to that room, assuming everything goes well. So at this point, we could say that KidBoo is pretty close to 130 pace here.
Pretty good. If you're going fast in that Torch Room, you can go right from that wizard. The position of wizards depends on where you are when they are supposed to spawn.
Looks like Chaucer's done shopping and he's about to join KidBoo in Misery Mire. We are still within half a dungeon of each other. This is still a really tight race, folks. Heaven forbid KidBoo goes for the Moldorm 2 hover and actually causes some of the difference here. For those of you tuning in from Speed Gaming, if you didn't catch it, we actually had an Ice Palace. KidBoo did a hover instead of the Ice Palace bomb jump. Very hype. I recommend you guys check out the VOD later for that. Or hopefully someone clipped it.
KidBoo getting his King of Samaria and Chaucer entering Mire 2. He has short beams compared to KidBoo. And gets
and as a result, had a great one too.
Yeah. So yeah, you have 2-3 hearts in that room to get that fast key. So that's why Mire is a very different dungeon considering if you have powder, considering to if you don't have powder. People who have powder can refill just before the boss. And if you don't, then you have to deal with it and hope to have at least 6 hearts. It's a good thing. 7 is good. 6 is we can survive to it. Below that, you have to adapt.
We also get to see a really nice cane dash out of KidBoo, but unfortunately he missed. He actually hit the wall with it. But if he had actually had it lined up right, it would have just carried through and hit the crystal switch. Very nice swag strat. We also got an opportunity to see him use his last bomb on that wall, so it would automatically switch to Fire Rod, which he used to clear out the crystal switch. We're not going to need magic for this fight, so he gets to use that. It saves a menu transition by doing it. KidBoo takes a long way to preserve his health. We're going to see him attempt Vitreous here. Looks like he's going for the WQ strat. He gets all of his sword spins and doesn't take any extra damage, but he missed the last eyeball on the last hit with the arrow, so, or at least he forgot to shoot the arrow. He ends up getting a 2 cycle out of Vitreous. He was very close to the 0 cycle, though. Now, Chaucer did pick up the powders, so he may choose to heal in this room. He may choose to wait until right before the boss. He's going to pick up the heart instead. That seems like a wise choice. He did take some spike damage.
Chaucer in the room before tried to short hop, which is not what you want to do here. You just want to dash. It's tempting because you have the possibility to do it there, but 1, it's hard, and 2, it's slower.
With Misery Mire down, KidBoo is going to make the ascent to Death Mountain to take on Turtle Rock. Chaucer not far behind, assuming we have a good Vitreous fight. Oh, missed the cane dash because he scrolled down the screen a little too soon. But with a good Vitreous, we have a good chance to close the gap going into Gan's Tower.
Pretty decent RNG outside, well, in Death Mountain for KidBoo, so it's not over yet. Still a lot of to do in the overworld. The squirrels can be nasty. Alright, that's pretty cool for the moment for him.
It always feels a little dirty when you get a dash hit on a dead rock and you don't bonk on it.
Yeah. So, as you said, powder before the boss for Chaucer.
Nintendo had a really good idea placing that there.
You know that before speedrunning, I didn't know that Pyre was transforming these kind of enemies into fairies.
You and me both, actually. I had no idea what it was for. I didn't even know about half magic before I ever played even the randomizer.
Oh, okay. No, that I knew. I knew that.
Yeah, some of us grew up with the game. It's I'm betraying how young I am. But so Chaucer has a really good Vitreous fight. He got 1 cycle, so he's a little bit ahead on that fight compared to KidBoo, although it should still be pretty narrow gap. Now, I don't believe the KidBoo messed up his enemy prize pack manipulation at any point in the run, although he may have killed an extra blue guard in Hyrule Castle. That I'm not entirely certain, or Aghanim's Tower. We're going to see in a moment with the Pokies whether or not he gets his fairy drop.
That should not matter. The important that the 3rd room, in the room with the key, if he killed only, well, if he didn't drop anything here, the prize pack, then it's fine.
Okay, then he should be good then. Thanks for the correction.
Okay, so weird. If you don't go for the damage boost here, then you should mirror back. Choicer missing the hook dash.
Doing some really
Choicer.
weird hook shots.
Yeah, and it was kind of risky in a way because the way they were moving, they could have been in the way and so that he could not move and had to wait for the shrill block to stop.
KidBoo with a really close chomp room. He didn't take any hits, but I mean I was on the edge of my seat for that. One thing that can happen with our chomps is they can sometimes take RNG paths that, make it impossible to hit the switch. Our runners sometimes will choose left or right based on that, but the chomp actually blocked his Samaria beam, which is unfortunate.
15 arrows, he's fine. Okay, good. He didn't take the bunny beam here, so he's fine.
All right, so I've been looking for it all tournament. I wonder if Chaucer did the medallion. He didn't do the medallion dash. That would have been amazing.
Double Poké Room for KidBoo. Not one of the best RNG. Okay, he messes it up. Alright. He gets the full magic refill. That's a good thing. So he puts himself here to get the iframe so that he doesn't get hit. Get hit on the way back. That's not too bad. You still have 7 hearts. Should be fine.
And with any luck, he'll get the fairy drop like KidBoo did.
No, he already got it. He got it in the first Poké Room. Sorry. KidBoo already had it.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go. RNG being a bro today.
Yeah, that was low. That's better. 3 hearts for KidBoo.
Well, that means he can't take any shots from Trinex, right?
He can hit one of his of his feet. Sorry. Ooh, that pokey!
He did not take a safety door either.
Okay, so he's taking a heart that doesn't do anything because if one of the heads hit him, it's still a death. But if you hit one of the legs by yourself, it's only 1 heart of damage.
So I suppose that's one way that it could potentially benefit to get that heart, but I guess he's only really saving time on how long it takes for the hearts to refill after the fight.
Then not worth the take, but okay, that's good. Is he going to play safe or is he going to go for the quick kill? Okay, he's going for right side, so he's going to do double spin and then dash from the right side. That's a very nice strat.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I like that. That is another great thing about this tournament. We do get to see a broad a whole bunch of different plurality of strategies that people will take for the same rooms. Not a lot of games have that kind of variance, which is fun to see here.
Alright, Choicer entering the maze.
If Chaucer was really in a rough spot with health. He could use a hook shot to get some iframes, but for the most part, it's just not worth the time loss for our runners here.
Taya, you went yourself for double speed. You should not have told me at the end of the relay in 2016 that you were interested in maybe learning double speed. That's your fault.
Yo, by the way, I'm still a fan of yours, Parisian, for that blindfold run. I still think that's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so KidBoo has enough lead normally to try to be able to win this match. Okay, he's not taking the safety key here, so he will have to make a harder strategy later on that could cost him a heart. Ganon's Tower is one of the hardest dungeon, and probably the most interesting one because you have a lot of variation within the strats. But it's also one of the riskier. You have the gauntlet in the second part, which can cost a lot of damage.
Looking over to the Trinex fight on Chaucer's screen, he had a little bit of bad luck with his positioning for his second Ice Rod shot, and ended up getting 3 attack cycles out of the main primary head.
Okay, so KidBoo has enough arrows. He's going to fight soon Ice Armos. You need 18 arrows. He has 15. He's going to take 5 arrow drops from the pot. So he's very fine. Yeah, okay. He should not have taken that pot. Yeah, he's mad here. He should have taken the pot below. So yeah, okay. He's taking the backup here.
Yeah, and if it really came down to it, he could have grabbed the chest in the bottom right corner too, but that's definitely a lot slower than just simply throwing the bomb. Here in Ice Armos, we do get to see a nice, well, KidBoo attempted a nice manipulation of the Armos. You can actually get the Armos to delay their movement cycle if you prevent them from reaching their neutral position when they're in a circle. Doing this correctly can save you a lot of time. Unfortunately for KidBoo, he ran out of arrows, 1 arrow shy of finishing the last Armos, so he had to resort to sword strats there.
Okay, so I don't know how long that fight was compared to what you need to do usually, but there's something called the arc variable. So the way the Armos are moving and the length of the fight is also linked to the fire bats in Ganon fight. So we usually practice with the same RNG from well, kind of RNG. It's not really RNG, but for the fire bats in Ganon. So if you mess up your Ice Armos, you will get a different fire bat movement. And you can react badly to that. So let's see what he gets and how he reacts to that.
Speaking of that arc variable, that is some really interesting Link to the Past theory talk, by the way. This doesn't come up very often, so I appreciate you sharing it. This actually does, not only does it change the direction that these fire bats sometimes spin, depending on how long that fight is, it also changes the placement. So if our runners are used to dodging them from a certain angle, that's where it really comes into play. Our runners hopefully won't have that happen to them. KidBoo was a little close there. Although he's an experienced runner, I mean, he's probably seen that situation more than a few times.
6 hearts and a half, no powder, so okay, good first gauntlet, but it can be tricky now. Very clean gauntlet too also.
Oh, I bet he wanted that heart.
Okay, a fast gauntlet, he lost 2 hearts in the end, but the pace was good.
We get to see a nice fast strat on Lan Molis. However, he was aiming a little bit too high with his fire rod on the last worm of the cycle, so we ended up getting an extra cycle on it, but that was still a pretty fast fight.
KidBoo finishing Landmo 2 and Chaucer entering Ice Armos. So Marnik's
And he has
team
full
every
arrows.
fight. Yeah, that's not common.
We'll see if we can get him to stagger the Ice Armos here by aiming left on one. Yep.
Yeah, that's a more classical fight.
With some really nice arrow spam. He, if you time the arrow spam correctly, because you only have one arrow on the screen at a time, you can actually, because mashing it actually is slower than timing your shots. He did a really good job there of timing them up with his advance towards the Armos.
Okay, he has the magic pot here. He has to be careful now. Okay, he's playing safe. Okay, so what key will he get? Okay, he's taking the one just before Moldarm 2. That will allow him to get also an extra heart and the full refill magic.
Yeah, that magic refill is really important for our runners because they're not going to get another refill before Ganon.
Very few runners don't take that refill. Here we go.
And the hover!
Easy every time.
Madman. I'm speechless. That's... wow. With that, he's going to get an early Aghanim 2 fight.
That saves approximately 6 seconds if done correctly.
And it saves me from saying a lot more words.
That should be 2 hits.
Here in Aghanim 2, it's very similar to our Aghanim 1 fight. We do get a couple of after images that always shoot reflective shots, and we still have the same 50-50 odds with the main one.
And if 2 energy balls hit... Oh, okay, the first one was only 1 then. If 2 energy balls or more hit Aghanim at the same frame, it only counts as 1. So that's one of the problems people get usually with that fight, like you.
Yeah, it's not good to get false doubles or triples.
Why is the over not considered a glitch? It's considered a glitch. It's considered as a minor glitch, though. And that category is no major glitches.
Not only that, but I mean, it would almost more accurately be called an exploit, just because it's just a simple feature of the movement system. So, like, Link's detection for his collision, or basically his positioning on land, isn't that, you know, we're not changing that. We're just exploiting the nature of it.
Chaucer, so he finished Landmo 2. He's going to go for the first torch room after that bridge. KidBoo seems to get, yeah, he got the 1-1.
Ouch, fire bat.
Yeah, 1 heart and a half. He cannot get hit by anything in the rest of the fight now.
1-hit KO mode engaged. Let's see if he can do it.
Usually when you've reached phase 3, it's okay. At this level, you're not supposed to get hit. But anything can happen.
Looking for the free sword spin outside of phase 3 going into 4. He gets it. Let's see if he can get the torch glitch as well. Perfect timing.
He went for the optimal one. So if you lit the left torch before the right torch goes down, then the right torch will never go down, and you only need to lit the left torch every time. That saves magic and time.
It also allows our runners to use the fire rod to position themselves better. This makes it very easy for them to get 3 hits per cycle. Though, I mean, the window between the left and right one going out is so small that it is very, very precise to hit that with the fire rod. And with that, KidBoo manages to finish off Ganon.
And take the bow. He's going to do... he tried to go for the bow dash at the end. Could have gone for the fire rod dash, which is also very nice, but the bow dash is also cool. He missed it. GG, KidBoo.
with that, DBZ fan KidBoo finishes with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 17 seconds. GG's to him, and Chad, please wish him a good game. We're going to see if we can get him into the commentary to have a quick interview. Meanwhile, Chaucer is making his approach to Aghanim 2.
Chaucer is not longer on PV pace, by the way, but still a pretty nice run. He's on 134 pace.
So with that in mind, understanding where we are with this group, I am the low man on the totem pole. I have 2 losses in this group. Chaucer will be walking away with a loss on this one, so he's 1-1. Skarsnik and DBZ fan KidBoo both have wins, but they've only done 1 match each, so we still have a little bit of play going on in this. We'll see if Chaucer, Skarsnik, or DBZ fan KidBoo ends up being the one man out.
Interesting. I didn't notice that Chaucer and Skarsnik were in the same group because they both have 133, so they must be like one from tier 2 and one from tier 3, but within the same minute.
Yeah, they were pretty much like right on the borderline for seeding, so I actually got the worst end of that. I had like a 157 walking into this, and all my group mates are like 135 or below. It was a lot of fun to race these guys, though.
From what I see, Chaucer should have the advantage. Skarsnik is not playing the game as much as he was a couple or 3 years ago. And Skarsnik didn't do a very good first match, so Chaucer should be the favorite for the decisive game of that group.
Ball and chain group, folks. Keep an eye out for Chaucer. Looks like we won't be able to get KidBoo raised in the chat, but GG, DBZ fan KidBoo, thank you for the really fantastic race. You did really well. I'm impressed.
Skywalker, I would like to answer your question if I knew what TNG was.
Wish I could help you on that one. I don't either. We're just a few sword spins away.
Yeah. Star Trek Next Generation. I don't watch Star Trek. I watched it a little bit when I... Ooh,
oh, no! Chaucer, that's brutal. He took like an extra hug after the fire bat. Oh, that was so close.
Yeah, he needs now magic and apparently hearts. He doesn't feel confident with hearts, so he's going to take the ferry here. The easiest way to take magic is in Kakariko Village, so... No Chaucer?
Yeah, he definitely has to pick up magic.
Kakariko Village, north of Kakariko Village, in the tree. Bonk in the tree, please. Alright.
Send him your energy, chat.
Did he forfeit? I'm not in the...
I don't see anything like that in the Speed Racing TV channel. He might be just thinking, like, where can I get, magic right now? Because he doesn't have a bottle or anything.
Okay, so what happened to anyone who's been running the game for long enough, and after that you know that the quickest way is to bonk in the tree in the north to Kakariko Village on your way to Skullwoods, still in Light World.
That's a super frustrating death, though. I mean, I feel for him. That's a terrible way to... right as he was about to finish up Phase 4. Yeah, Chaucer may be screaming at the stars right now. I sure would be. I'm glad I don't have to commentate my own races. Looks like we did get some movement out of him. I see him in the race channel. Like it's a little bit less delay.
Okay, he might have got the information in his chat. Okay, good. I know.
Looks like he's gonna get the bottle with the. Oh no, he's looking for a. I don't know what he's looking for. That's weird.
There's red bottle here. That's a red bottle used in the current RB route, but no. Oops. Give some energy to Charizard in chat. Yeah, you need a bottle. Nice idea, but...
Yeah, I was right there with him. I mean, he could even get a blue potion if he wants.
By the way, considering his number of rupees, shoutouts to Blink82. 182 for the fans. 183 now, ah, too bad.
Let's go. Don't wait, this run's almost over.
Okay, if he continues to hookshot the enemy and then kill him, he will only get rupees. You need to kill him differently.
Hey, shoutouts to the other Usain Bolt. We don't get to see this guy too often.
Alright, I think he's on tilt. I'm gonna try if I can pop in his Twitch quickly so that I can help him.
So he's going after something a little lesser known, I believe, with this. I think he's trying to get a stun prize. Yep, he got a full magic refill, so he's not going to have to pick up a bottle or anything, although he may want some hearts. I think he can get those from the fairy that he's going to have from the bonkable tree just south of the pyramid. So we should be back on for Ganon here.
Okay, he got it differently. RF too late in his chat.
I wish I could be critical of this, but my PB is still 10 minutes later than this, so...
Yeah, it's still continuing.
Hey, good on him. One thing that we want to show, a lot of the newer runners here is that, it's definitely worth it to finish your runs. You're going to get better at the game if you have to play the entire thing. So don't be the sort of person who just wants to reset like every 5 seconds. You're not going to get too much better at this game playing Eastern Escape. And it just goes to show how good Chaucer actually is at this game. I mean, even with all of the things that we just did, he's still sub 140 right now.
He didn't get the 1-1, so he's going for the 2-2 here. Oops. Alright. Reaching phase 3 with 2 hearts.
Chaucer does get the free spin.
Got the torch glitch with the lantern.
It seemed like at first he wanted to use Lamp just to preserve as much magic as possible. He may have been doing that initially just to make sure that if he did die, he would still have magic. But he did switch to Fire Rod. Seems like he's back in control here.
It's also easier with lantern. You just need basically to spam Y. With the Fire Rod, you have to time your Fire Rod shot correctly. So you have some setups, like we saw KidBoo firing from the top left corner exactly when the last block went down. You can spam it in a way if you're really close to it also, because somehow it works. And the fight is done.
Hey, GG to Chaucer, and great finish. We'll also see if we can get Chaucer in the comms for a quick interview. With that, Chaucer finishes with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour and 41 minutes and 12 seconds. Almost an exact 10-minute difference between these runners. 10 minutes and 5 seconds. That's unusually close to an even number.
All right, let's see if he's going to join.
Cool. It sounds like he'll be joining us in just a moment.
Nice.
Looking forward to other races that we have ahead. We have finished up everything for the Friday night, I guess you would call it, on the East Coast here in the U.S., and you guys are 5 hours ahead of us, so Saturday morning in Europe at the earliest. We have a lot of races here for Saturday day, though. If we're going off of Eastern Standard Time, we're looking at 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 10 p.m., where we have good 6 races in a row. We'll have a quad starting up first, and several other really great races. We're across 3 different channels as well tomorrow, so there's a lot of great no major glitches to tune into. You guys got to keep tuned to this because this is only going to heat up as we start finishing up these group matches. As we talked about in the announcement recently, we've already finished up more than half of the races, so we are blazing through this tournament. We should be able to progress very shortly to elimination.
Yeah, we are ahead of schedule for sure, which was not guaranteed because such big tournaments are not easy to deal with. Shoutouts to Scrivo for organizing it and Greenham for making a huge work in that tournament as an administrator.
I'll second that. Thanks for all your hard work, guys.
Alright, still waiting for Chaucer.
So I saw some interesting glitches that KidBoo is doing on his side of things. There's a pretty glitchy looking Death Mountain. You might explain that one for some of the folks who aren't familiar with the glitches out there?
I didn't see it. Did he reach Death Mountain from next to the sanctuary?
I believe so. We had some messed up looking sky sprites.
Okay, yeah. So that's what we call Death Mountain Ascent. It's reaching Death Mountain without going up like the Ascent, and that's a way to reach it, especially without the gloves. Hello. Hey
Chaucer, GG.
What's your feeling about that race? You were on a probably 134 pace until you hugged Ganon.
Chaucer's saying he's had some audio issues.
I think we lost him.
Let's see if we can get him to hear the commentary here. 1 second. Chaucer, can you hear us now?
Rip.
Rip.
In the meantime, KidBoo soft-locked the game. I didn't see how we did that. Okay, second the wall.
Well, I thought Link to the Past was a perfect game. I mean, what in the world happened here?
People who never saw RBO or saw less would be surprised how the game is totally glitched. What we call the played world is a kind of exploration glitch where everything is in a played mode. So the floor is pretty weird. You can move from room to room, but you have no walls, but you have stairs, but you have enemies. It's a very weird state. I don't see any equivalent in any other game.
If you love breaking things, this game is a fun game to break. Chaucer, I do see you in the comms channel. Can you hear us now? That's rough. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do an interview of him.
Yeah, unfortunately. It was starting well. We heard him saying his first words.
Anyway, I'm listening through Twitch, so sorry about that. But
Hey, I can hear you.
We hear you now.
no,
so
I
we're
can
gonna have
hear
a
you
little
guys.
bit of audio
Sorry.
delay. Hey, there he is. Well, so Chaucer, as Parisian was mentioning before, we were looking at about a 134 pace walking into Ganon.
Yo, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that finish. I really had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, that makes way more sense. You know, it's almost like you speed ran that too.
It was for most of the run. I had to go. But yo, good game to KidBoo.
It was a really entertaining race to watch.
Yeah, no, I wanted to get back to trying to close out properly.
Well, you have a last match versus Skarnicus in order to reach the brackets. Close PBs, but I say you should be the favorite in that match because you are more fit than Skarnicus currently on the game.
Yeah.
Look at it this way: I was within a few minutes of him, and my my PB is about 20 minutes behind yours. So I think you have a pretty good chance at being our top seed for this group.
Oh, we'll see. I'm interested in playing for sure.
With that, it looks like Skarsnik will be your last match of the group stage. I still have to do one with DBZ fan KidBoo here. I expect to get stomped. And then I believe Skarsnik also has to race him as well. Looking forward, though, I believe... What was your race time against me? I think it was your fastest one, right?
We might have lost him.
Ruh-roh. But he did absolutely crush me in our race.
Yeah, it was definitely. I think I had a 136, so it was definitely faster than this one. Oh, am I gone?
We can still hear you.
Yeah, we do. We hear you.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see how this group finishes out.
I just hope this was a contentious race. I don't know what the race looked like, but
actually, it was very close.
This has been a lot of fun.
Vast majority of it.
Like, it's really fun to race.
All right. So yeah. Apparently, you've got some delay because you're hearing us from Twitch and not from Discord. So. We got your impressions. We're still looking forward for your next match, and I guess we're gonna then stop here.
Yep, I have been Eudaimonistic on the commentary. I was joined by Parisian player here halfway through the match. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Speed Gaming, Feasel, and everybody setting up the restreams and commentary, admins of the tournament. Really appreciate you guys putting on this work for us. That was me. Thanks, folks.
It was a pleasure. See you next time.